Hi, Danette. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I did a little quick restart. It seemed like the screen to me was like a little bit dark, so I didn't want whatever it was we were making to get lost today in the screen. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for joining. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. We're having a snowstorm here today, crazily enough. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Irene. Karen, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, so we're having a snowstorm here today, which is a little unusual because it's kind of, we already have had some of the flowers starting to come up. And hi, Eileen. Good morning, Ginger. Kind of, I think we were prepared for spring. And winter said, by the way, it's not spring yet, guys. So here we are. This crazy weather. So how you guys doing today? How's everyone doing? Y'all ready to make something fun? I tell you, I just thought of this idea about 3 minutes ago. So hopefully y'all like it. We'll see what we can come up with here today. Yeah, it's snow on Monday and Tuesday. Great. I think we have your snow then, Jessica. Should we send it back? Oh, and you're in sunny, warm New Mexico. Oh, Paige, I am very jealous. Hi, Karen. Good morning from New Jersey. Supposed to get a storm. Oh, goodness, 2 inches. Well, I hope so for your sake, Irene. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Jeez. Hi, Tammy. I'm reading comments and saying my own name. It's like Romper Room. I don't know if you guys remember that show when I can't remember what her name was, but she used to see people, and sometimes I see myself. Apparently, Stephanie, Donna, good morning. Brianna, good morning. Thank you all for joining. I'm gonna go over something really quickly before we start, just while we're waiting for some people to hop in, just in case no one's ever changed their fast views, because my snail and my fast views happen to go empty, and I thought, well, I'll share them with everybody just in case. So with your snail, this just pops in, so this one still has something in it, so you just throw this part away when you're done with it. Thank you guys for sharing. Good morning, Veronica. And I will tell you, the very first time when I refilled one of these myself, I was trying to figure out how to take this part off to put it back in. So that's why I figured I would do this, just to show you guys quickly how to change it, because it's way simpler than you think it is. So this whole part here actually comes off, and you throw this whole piece away, and you'll end up with just this black piece here. And it's very simple. All you do is you squeeze this little thing. There's one on the top and bottom, and it comes out. So what I usually do is when my snail is empty, I'll just make sure, because it does collect like some little adhesive boogies that get stuck here, so I'll kind of clean those off. And then you'll just open your package just like that. Just pop it out. You pull out this little yellow paper thing, and then you stick them together, and that's it. Just that easy. And then you just open your flip top. So it's very simple to swap out for the snail. And the fast fuse is not much more difficult, honestly. The fast fuse, when your container is empty, you're going to pull it out. Now, mine is a little bit more boogied up here, you can see. So you could actually wipe this off with a baby wipe if you wanted to kind of loosen up some of those little boogies of adhesive that get stuck on there. So you can just kind of wipe it. You could also use, because baby wipes can tend to get a little fuzzy, you could use an alcohol wipe if you have an alcohol wipe. But I usually will just get the larger ones. All right, on second thought, don't use a baby wipe, because it's leaving a lot of lint here, and then you're going to have lint stuck all over your cards. And you're going to say, why do I have lint all over? So I usually will kind of just mostly get these little bottom ones here, because this seems to be where they get stuck with your fast fuse, if you have that, and they won't come off. So kind of run your fingers on it. So that's the one side, and then this one is the other. So same thing, I'm just going to run my fingers on it just to pick this up. And just once you kind of rub your fingers together, you can get it to drop off in the trash. So then your fast fuse refill is a little bit slimmer. So I'm just going to pop this out just like so. So there's your fast fuse refill here. And then you're going to notice the one side has 2 holes. So make sure you guys can see that. There's 2 holes here, and then this side doesn't really have any holes. So I usually will put the whole side together first. So just drop it in like that. It will line up just like that. And then you just take your other half and you just put it back together. Again, not really very difficult. And basically when your fast fuse runs out, you'll just take this one off and you'll just pull this out, and this part will go in the trash. So Basically, a little bit of saving some garbage from going into a landfill. But so you'll just slip this on and then just close it back up. Now the fast fuse, you get a couple of these little strands off. The fast fuse doesn't have that little close lid like the snail does, but the fast fuse usually only pulls from the bottom, so typically it's not a problem. So just so you know, there's just two simple ways just to refill your adhesive, and then if you don't have that, you can always go with, why is it whenever I want to show you something, I don't, oh there it is, I was going to say I don't have it handy. You can also go with the tear and tape, which comes on a roll, so this is really easy to use, the tear and tape, or the fine tip glue pen. That's another really great one to use. This one just unscrews. Cool thing is too, if you have trouble seeing this, you could add a little bit of re-inker to make it a different color so you could see it. Also another possibility, you could add re-inker to it and you could make like water drops for your flowers or something like that. And then the other one we have is the Tombow liquid glue, which also has 2 points, just in case you don't know. It has the fine point here at the top, and then it has the fatter point at the bottom if you want to cover larger parts of your card. And then another thing that you can do with this, I didn't come up with this tip, but I saw it somewhere, so I want to share it. I have a little Tupperware container, and what I do is I just keep this on my desk, and I have a sponge in it, so this is just a glue sponge. So if I'm doing a project that, say for example, if I wanted to stick this Celebrate onto something, and I didn't use the Sizzix adhesive sheets, what you could do is you put a little bit of glue down here in the bottom of your Tupperware lid or container, and then you dip your sponge into it and run it on the back, and then you can adhere it without a lot of tape or extra stickiness. And then I just keep the lid on this and just keep it on my desk, so it's handy. And then another thing some people will do is, this obviously sits because it's got a fatter bottom on the bottom. Sometimes people will bring a little glass upstairs with them, and they'll put this face down, that way when they're ready to use the point, it's already down there in it. So that's another thing you could do. So if you have like a little juice glass or something you don't use it anymore, you could do that as well. Put a binder clip on the sponge. Yeah, that's another good idea too. Absolutely, Donna. You could put a binder clip on there. Or you could use like a little punch. A lot of times people had that tab punch and they put the punch on there and just staple it. But I think a binder clip would be better because sometimes the paper tends to get wet and it gets a little mushy. So anyway, just a few notes about Sale-A-Bration. If you guys haven't noticed already, probably from everyone else, that Sale-A-Bration does end this month. It ends March 31st. So if you wanted to join the team, this is the last period of time where you can join. You get to pick $125 worth of stuff for $99 plus 2 free additional stamp sets of any price. It excludes bundles and Sale-A-Bration items. But I would love for you to be a member of our team. We have some lovely ladies that are extremely creative, very supportive and helpful if you wanted to join, even if you're just joining for the discount. So you can send me a message and I could send you some information on how to join. Again, it is through March 31st is when the 2 extra free stamp sets ends. And then right now, if you have a party, even if you have an online party, you do get some extra benefits. I believe with a $250 party, you get an extra $25, so that's pretty cool. So my ladies, we have a party on Friday, so whoever's the hostess, if we have a big party, then we'll get a little extra benefit. You could also do an online party if you had some friends you wanted to invite, and they could get a hostess code and all shop with you, which is awesome. And also just for shopping on Sale-A-Bration, if you spend $50, you do get 1 free stamp set. There's stamp sets, there's paper, there's, oh, this is a fun one. I haven't used this one yet, but this is a fun designer series paper stack you get with it. This kind of goes with that bottle die set that we have that's in the Occasions catalog. But there are some Thinlit dies, there's a whole second edition of stuff. And I'm going to tell you, the paper and products, so for example, this paper, the note cards, they're going to be selling out soon, because Stampin' Up! Only makes their own stamps. Everything else they get from different suppliers. And actually, they almost ran out of the Tutti Frutti note cards, but they were able to get someone else to put some in. So they're slightly different, but they are still available. So any $50 purchase, you get to pick 1 item. If you have a $100 purchase, you can either pick one $100 item. We do have 2 of those, 2 stamp sets, or 1 stamp set and then 1 die set. The die set will actually be carrying over into the new annual catalog, and or you could pick $2 $50. So kind of up to you, whatever way you want to do. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email. I'll be happy to help you and get you set up with some answers or situated or whatnot. So what we're going to do today I saw this idea the other day, so you're going to have to bear with me because I haven't made it yet, kind of how I go with everything here. So I'll try to make it as simply and not 27 hours long as I can. But I saw someone do a really cool pull card the other day with the different companies' stamp set. They had a really fun Asian theme, and I thought that'd be such a great idea. And we have the Fortunate to Know You, so you could use the fortunes. And what she did was made a really cool background, and she used red because red is a very good color of good fortune in Asian ancestry and heritage. So she did some bamboo on red with gold, which was really cool, and then added in these lanterns. So I was like, wow, that's a really cool card, and we could kind of do that. We do have 3 stamp sets that we would kind of be able to combine together. So I'm not 100% sure how it's going to look yet. So please forgive me as we do this along together, but we're going to, what we're going to do first is we're going to start with doing the heat embossing. I'm going to do some bamboo, and I'm going to emboss it in gold on red paper. And then I thought we could make a fortune cookie, and we're actually going, instead of using these fortunes, because they are a little bit bigger, I'm going to just use the Hello Friend, and I'm going to make this into a pull tab so it will come out. So again, this is going to take a little bit of work because I haven't done one yet, but it should be fairly simple because we do have that really great, the embossing or the foam strips, so that should be really easy, which I should have grabbed those and I don't think I did. But the foam strips will make it easy to make a pull card, and then we're going to use this for the background and kind of decorate it up with these little lanterns as well. So we're going to get started today first using the Artistically Asian stamp set. All of these stamps are available in the online store. That is Rachthestamper.stampinup.net. So I'm going to grab a little piece of cherry cobbler. And what we're going to do is we're not going to do a whole panel. We're just going to do a piece that's going to stick out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat emboss the whole thing. That way we could use it for more than one card. So this should be a piece that is 4, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, this one's 4 1/4. So this I'm going to make it 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That way we have other pieces we can cut if we'd like. So I'm going to just cut a piece off here. And what we're going to do is, let me mount this. You could certainly use your Stamparatus for this if you want, but since we're going to be moving around, I'm going to kind of flip it upside down. I'm going to just stick with a clear block, but we'll do that for some other stuff later. I'm going to use my embossing buddy just to run this over because it is very, very dry, and which means a lot of static. And I'm going to grab my Versamark. So I'm going to just ink up my stamp with Versamark. And you can see this Versamark is really, really dirty. It does not affect it whatsoever. Actually might be a little bit of a help sometimes when you're doing white stuff if you get a little tinge to it, but it doesn't affect it. So you can re-ink it. The dark color does not actually come off onto anything. So I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let me just grab a little scrap so I don't mess up my nice new pad here. I just got a new pad of grid paper. I opened it up just for you guys today. I thought it was looking a little bit dark, so I opened a brand new one. I'm going to just put this to the side. I'm just going to keep re-inking and not really following necessarily a pattern, but kind of just filling in some spaces here. And again, I'm going to do the whole sheet even though we're only going to use a piece of it. And I think I'm going to add one more thing before I'm done with this just to make it a little bit more interesting. So that was just with the bamboo. But what I'm going to do is there are these 2 little I guess they're sayings. And you know, I did know what they were at one time, but I cannot remember what they are right now. But they do mean something, both of these. So it's a Chinese script. So when Stampin' Up! Did put this out, they made sure that they actually meant something when they put these images on. So I'm going to just kind of fill these in a few spots. And just to kind of fill in a little bit of the empty space. And then I'm going to do the same with this one. And we're just going to heat emboss this all over in gold. Just like that. That's the cool thing, though, I will tell you. So I watch a lot of videos from a lot of different people with a lot of different products from a lot of different companies. And I think the thing that is very neat is the fact that I am able to go to our Stampin' Up! Products and make something very similar. It's not going to be exactly the same, but make something very similar out of products that we have that might not be exactly the same, but it works with it. So you can look for an idea and then you could just use what you have to make it your own. So I'm going to just sprinkle gold embossing powder over top of this. So I think that's cool that you don't have to say, oh, well, now I'm going to have to go out and buy whatever it may be, because most likely we probably already have it. You just have maybe overlooked it, or it's in a set that you have, because that's what I was kind of thinking with the lanterns, because I really, really loved what they did with the lanterns on this. And then I thought, we have lanterns on something, and sure enough we do. It's just in that Color Me Happy stamp set, which is a little difficult to find because that came out with the Stampin' Blends. So it's not really in a catalog, and I know a lot of people have looked for it and it's not in a catalog, so that sometimes can make it a little bit more difficult to find. But you can find it. You just have to look for Color Me Happy. So that's this one. This goes with the Stampin' Blends, which gives you a lot of stuff to be able to color in with the blends. And these were two of my favorite things to color, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to just heat this with my heat tool. And it's better if you make sure this is nice and hot before you start, because then it takes less time for it to actually heat emboss. Let me see if I can... I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to do it from underneath so you guys can see it. And I did actually get a little bit of a smudge here, but that's okay. I'm going to keep it anyway. No one will notice except for you guys. And I'm just going to turn this around. And again, you could do this with Real Red if you didn't want to use Cherry Cobbler. I do like Real Red, but I think Cherry Cobbler is my favorite red color that we have. Now, if you wanted to, another really cool thing you could do is you could, again, this would be something you could do. We could take a little strip of the gold foil, would be really fun, and kind of add that to the back of it. Or you could even take your Versamark and go drag it around the edge, and you could heat emboss the edge with the gold if you were going to use this whole panel. But since we're not going to use a whole panel, we're going to just we're going to trim this up. So let me just move this out of the way, just real quick. And so again, we use the bamboo. And then we use the two Chinese writing symbols. And I'm going to see if I can find out what these are. And I will, if I can find them, I'll post it onto the blog later when I put this on. Oops. Just want to clean those off. All right. So those were out of the Artistically Asian. Now what we're going to do, because we're going to need a little bit of time for this to set, is I'm going to go ahead and stamp our fortune cookie. And I'm going to stamp our Hello Friend. I actually had a few of these that I had stamped ahead of time with the Fortunate to Know You, but I don't think any of them would fit in exactly like I wanted them, so that's why I kind of just went with the Hello Friend. Plus, that way I kind of thought it would be a little bit more generic. So if you wanted to, you could use either one of these. I'm just not sure how far they would fit into the cookie. So I'm going to just use just a scrap piece here of Whisper White, and I'm going to use some Memento ink. And the reason I'm going to use the Memento is because I'm going to color this fortune cookie in with the Stampin' Blends. And the Stampin' Blends won't run with this. So that's why I'm going to use that. Move this out of the way. And I'm going to just stamp my Hello Friend as well. And when I do my Hello Friend, I'm going to stamp it so it's kind of to the side, because I want to have a little spot where I can put the pull tab. And if I'm not mistaken, we do have a stamp set that actually says pull. I feel like it might be that the texting stamp set that we have, and I could be wrong, but I feel like there might be one that says pull. Or you know what it was in? It was in a paper pumpkin. The one, if you guys have the paper pumpkin that had those really tall, skinny, they look like birthday candles that came out of the top, that has a stamp in it that says pull. So you could put that on there if you wanted to. That way someone knew they were supposed to pull it out. But again, I don't want to let this, I'm going to let this set to dry, but I don't want it to be too long because I'm not exactly sure how long we're going to be able to fit this in here. Okay. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do for the base is I'm going to use a piece of thick whisper white. So this is 4 1/4 by 11. It's already scored at 5 1/2. So I'm going to just fold this and use my bone folder just to make it nice and flat. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to add this little panel to this, but I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to add this to it, and then I want to put 2 of these lanterns kind of hanging. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm letting this dry. Let me move this out of the way. And I'm going to grab these in the meantime. So this does have a little line in here if you wanted to use this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp these where I think I want them. I'm going to use the Stamparatus. That way I can position them where I want it. I'm going to stamp these where I want them, and then I'll just add a line in. Okay, so let me move this over out of the way and grab my Stamparatus. I'm going to move all these little extra stamps out of the way. Move this over to dry. Okay, so I've been kind of storing my Stamparatus with all the plastic pieces just laying inside, and then I have my magnets underneath. I use some, I think this is like 2-inch painter's tape just to be able to pick these up. And I will tell you, yesterday I made a whoopsie and I put them together by accident. I had them close enough that they stuck together and I almost had a heart attack, but the way they happened to fall, I was able to pull them apart. So note to self, make sure you don't let your magnets get together. I was like, oh my gosh, all the things I've told people not to do, and I just did the exact same thing. What a ding dong. All right, so since this is my whole card here, I just have this folded. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of decide where I think I want to have my lanterns. So if we did here, we did like that. What we might be able to do is just move it over so another one will be, I'm not sure if hold on, I forgot to take out. You got to take out when you're doing these with the clear mount, you want to take this little foam piece out underneath. And I'm going to just tell you one other thing I just noticed, and I hope I'm wrong. However, we have had a lot of power outages here. We had a really bad storm the other day, and if the power goes out, I may not be able to come back. So I will eventually finish this and repost it. I hope that doesn't happen, but I did see the lights flick. So just a word of warning there. So I'm going to see where I want these. So I'm going to go with right there. I'm going to put them right there. I'm going to put my magnets. I'm going to put one up here and one on this side. And then I'm going to ink these with Memento ink. Again, because I'm going to color these in, I think, with the Stampin' Blends. And that was kind of the other reason that I went with the Cherry Cobbler as well. Because we have Cherry Cobbler Stampin' Blends and we don't have Real Red. So I figured that way it would look a little bit more cohesive with the color. So let me see. I'm going to move this down now and see if that's too far. Okay, so even though this one is probably going to be covered and maybe part of this, I'm going to just move them over and re-ink them. And I think because what my plan will be is that I'm going to make a line that'll go up. So it'll pick this one up. This one will really be blocked. So I didn't really need to necessarily re-ink that one, but I just did it for the heck of it. So you can move this over depending on how you wanted to have your lanterns. So you could have like one that was on a high rope, one that was on a low rope if you wanted to draw your lines in after the fact. So all you do is just pick it up, pull it straight out, move it over, decide where you want to lay it and put it back down again. And if for some reason one of these didn't ink dark enough, all you'd have to do is go back, re-ink it, press it down again, and it'll fill in because it's lined up exactly. So that's one really cool feature of the Stamparatus, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited about. And I think the next one isn't going to be until the end of, or the middle of April, I believe is what they said so far. So I'm going to just pull these off, take this out so I can put this back. I'm going to put my magnets back separately so I don't accidentally snap them together. They are going to come out with reorderable magnets once the new catalog comes out. And then this store is pretty slimly. You can actually, a couple people even kept their boxes that this came in and they decorated with designer series paper so you could set it in. But I find it's just as easy just to put it on the side. So we have our colors here. So what I'm going to let this do, and I did choose the thick Whisper White, even though it still may show through to the other side, but just so it'll be a little bit easier to color. So this one, I'm going to let dry for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and color in the cookie. So what I have been doing for the cookie is I use the light and dark crumb cake and then the bronze marker. So I'm going to do the light first, and I'm going to do the bronze. I tend to do the bronze with the skinny tip, and then I've done the other two with the brush tip. So I'm just going to open them and set them here. That way I have them here. So I'm going to go ahead and start coloring. So I'm going to do light first. Okay, and then I'm going to go add in a little bit of dark. And just blending it off again with the light. Out. And I'm going to kind of go to the edge because we're going to trim this out a little bit. And with the Stampin' Blends, I know a lot of people have a little bit of trouble with these. This is actually my very first time ever using an alcohol-based marker. And I will say that I really like them a lot. However, I don't really have anything to compare it to. I know a lot of people with the Copics, you know, you do get more colors with them. But again, I really don't have too much of a basis for comparison, but I do like them a lot. Now I'm going to just add in, I'm keeping the light one handy. I'm going to bring in the bronze, and I'm just going to kind of go over the edge here, just to give it a little bit darker of a feel to those corners. Kind of where they added the natural shading. And then I'm going to just blend it out just a little bit. And then if you wanted to, you can even kind of fill in like where those couple dots are. Maybe a little bit on the side. But it really does give it that 3D look. I really like that. I think it's very, very neat. And then if you wanted to, you could always go back with your color lifter and kind of lighten up that middle part a little bit more if you felt like it. Just so it gave a little bit of that color, like the lightness of color to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim this out. And then we'll start putting our card together and see how it ends up looking. Hopefully it'll look even remotely halfway what I thought the other one looked like. I'm not going to trim out the part to put it in yet because I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do it with the pull tab. Go right around the side. All right, there's my cookie. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to use my trimmer just to make sure I get a nice straight cut with this Hello Friend piece down here. So I don't want it to be too big. Guess that's probably about 1/4 inch. Yeah, that way it's a nice even cut. And if you wanted it to be a little bit smaller, you could always go back and trim, which I think I might do with my scissors. Just trim it down just a little thinner. That way there's not as much bulk to try to fit in there. There you go. Now what you are going to need, so I'm going to just take this from this little piece here, is you're going to need a stopper for this. Nope, that's not going to be quite wide enough. Hold on. We'll do it this way. We're going to need a stopper for this because you're going to have to put a stopper on here to keep it from pulling out all the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a little bit of the Tombow liquid glue to put this on. And you definitely want a strong adhesive. You don't want to just do this with snail because it probably could pull it right off. So I'm just going to set this. You know what? Did I just do this? I think I did it backwards, didn't I? Want this to pull out. We'll see. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to set this here. And I'm actually going to just put this onto my silicone mat. That way I don't get it stuck to the paper. So I'm going to sit this here to dry. Okay. In the meantime, let me just grab my foam strips, which I forgot. Okay. Seriously, almost like a mini avalanche over there. So the foam strips come in a pack. They do come, it's 3 strips. You can even use these little long pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a channel for this to go into, okay? In the meantime, while we're letting this set and dry, I'm going to go ahead and color these in. I am going to use the Cherry Cobbler and, ooh, what other color? How about Pool Party? Because I think those colors will be complementary. So we'll do the Pool Party and the Cherry Cobbler. So we're going to do light first, light and dark. And I'm going to use the pointy tip of the dark and the brush tip of the light, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start this one first. And what I tend to do with these is I kind of use the whole brush of it to try to fill in as much space as I can. And then I kind of leave the middle whiter, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to go and add the dark. Darker spots to it. I'm going to blend it out a little bit with the lighter. I'm going to go just a little bit, just kind of give that like catch mark. A little bit more with the dark. Okay, and then down here on the bottom, just fill those in. And then same thing again. So I'm going to do the other round one in the Cherry Cobbler. These really are kind of like a watercolor brush. I do like them a lot. They're very, very nice tipped markers. Same thing again, I'm going to go ahead in with the dark. And again, you can kind of make it however much. I usually try to do a little bit of angle at the top and then way more at the bottom, just because that's where I imagine the darkness would be. Same thing again, just blending it out a little bit. And then going back in with a little bit more of the dark. Okay, so just like that. So we're going to leave those two like that. And I didn't fill in the tassels on purpose. I'll do that with something else. So now I'm going to do with the two lights. So this is Pool Party. This looks really cool if you do these lanterns too with the Calypso Coral. I don't know what it is about it. It kind of reminds me more of like a summer party. Kind of line around the edge. And just bring that darkness back in again. Blend the light out a little bit and then just add in a little bit more dark. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here. So light. Even though this probably may not show, I'm going to color it in just in case it does, because I'm really not 100% sure where I'm going to put that little panel that we made yet. You hear my son, the train, downstairs. Okay, so I'm going to leave that like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a teeny bit of this light soft sky or light Pool Party just to drag these down. You could also do this with gray if you wanted to. Another thing you could do if you had a curve that you wanted to use, so say for example if you had just like a ribbon, you could kind of make your round, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do them freestyle, and I'm going to do them with the I'm going to do it with the black. So I'm going to do a black Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to just kind of freestyle where I think this would be. So I'm going to start at one side, and then I can always bring this up just a little bit so you can see that I kind of just took the liberties of where my string that was holding this was going. So I'm going to grab another one here. I'm just going to start this, try to pick up past it. Okay, so you pick that up there, and then I'm going to do one coming from the other side. So this one would go here, up to the top. We'll have it go through here. All right, and if you wanted to, you can always go back and just retrace your marker line so it's a little thicker. And bring your wire that the lantern was hanging on. There you go. I have a little double wire there because I wasn't tracing well enough, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. So this itself would be a really pretty card, just like that. So let me go ahead over here. We're going to figure out what we're going to do with our cookie. Let's see how I can fit this in. I know I'm going to have to trim this down some. And now that I think about it, gosh, that is going to be big. I'm going to have to cut this down just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the edge of this down some. I'm going to cut this just a little bit thinner. And this may be that it's going to be too big for the card, even though I thought it would be skinny enough that it would fit. But we'll have to see. I'm going to trim this down because we don't need quite this much. And you kind of just want to have something. I don't want to trim it too much because we might need more, but you kind of want to just have something that's going to stop this from coming out all the way. So if you were to have, like, I know it's not going to go in that far. Hello, friend. So it's going to just kind of hide part of it. So you could hide the friend portion and then have it come out like that. So let's see what we're going to do. This is probably one of those things where I probably should have tested a little bit more before I did it. Let me trim off some of this friend. And again, if you wanted to have the little pull portion of it, you definitely want to leave something there. So this might be one where I would have to work on it a little bit. Because you could also keep the cookie a little bit more of an edge. Like trace around the outside of the cookie so you'd have a fatter cookie. That might still work good enough. So if we have our friend right there, so hello friend right there, where we would want is we're going to put two little stop pieces here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab two little pieces of the foam strips. Let's see. I'll put one right here just to kind of make a stopper. And then you kind of want a channel for this to go in because you don't want it to come out the other side. So right here, what I did is I put two little pieces. These are just on the inside, two little pieces that will stop this from going any farther. So it's not going to pull out any farther, okay? And then the other thing you want to do is you want to have it so it stops here so it doesn't come out the back and fall out the back of your card, okay? So we're going to put just a little strip right here and then we'll bring the rest of our channel in. So just give me 1 sec. I'm going to trim off a tiny piece. Let's see about how big that is. So I'm going to put a tiny piece right here on the bottom. Might be just a little bit over the edge. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So that will prevent our cookie part from falling out the back. Now the only other thing we're going to do, because you don't really want it wobbling all over the place, is we're going to put in something kind of around the edge here, and we're going to put a little piece here so it'll slide. So I'm going to grab just a little bit more of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this off because it does pull apart pretty easily with your fingers, and I'm going to just line this up following the edge here and then trim it just a little bit. Oop. There's one, and then the same thing with this one. So I'm going to bring this around the edge of the cookie, and I don't want to go too far that it's going to get this little piece stuck, even though we certainly can trim it. But I just kind of want to go just to the edge there. I'm going to pull that out for a second because I don't want it to overlap where that little part's going to get stuck. Because then you're going to be, person's not going to be able to open it. And it's just going to say friend, which I'm sure they'll still be happy to get a card. But it'd be more fun if they get a card that actually works the way you wanted it to work. Okay, so we have all of our edges in there. We have this piece in here that's going to come out to say hello friend. Even though it's not quite as interactive as I want it to be. I want it to be a little bit more hidden, but this is a pretty small image. If you wanted to do this, another cool thing, if you were looking for something bigger, you could have your fortune coming out of your takeout box, and you could either have it sliding in and out of the heart, which would be fun, or in and out of the top of the box. So if you're looking for something larger, those are two other options. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a little bit of trimming on the back end of this because it doesn't need to be as big. So I'm going to cut this down. Oops. I'm going to cut this down just a little. That way we have more, so it can go in just a little farther. And I'm going to trim the angles of this off in the back. So it kind of goes, since the back of it is kind of round. So it'll go a little farther in. So we still have our little angles here in the front that are going to stop it from going out any farther. So they're only going to come to this, but it'll let it be hidden a little bit more. So it'll be like friend, and then they pull it out. Oh, hello friend. So something like that. All right, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add, don't mind my phone ringing there, sorry. I'm going to add my piece of paper that we created earlier. So I'm going to add a little strip. Now I might do it at the bottom instead because this is really pretty and I'm almost a little hesitant to cover that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two things. First off, I'm going to do a little bit around the edge here so it looks like these are in the sky. So I'm going to take my my Pool Party marker, and I'm going to go right around the edge of the top. You could do this with your markers as well, so if you don't have the Stampin' Blends. So it kind of just gives that like sky effect. And then bring that up to the top as well. I'm not going to go past them. And if you wanted to, you could sponge a little bit of color in there, whichever you like. You could also go around, if you wanted to, and just kind of put a little bit of a line of the Pool Party to kind of give that effect of the sky underneath. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the bottom, and then I think I'm going to put the fortune cookie on top of it. Or another thing we could do all together, if we like this and it's really pretty, is we could take this and we could put this on the inside. So we could kind of leave the front as it was. You could have the pool card on the front, like that. And then on the inside here, we can trim a piece of this off and we can put a piece of gold foil behind that. I think I like that better because I think that way it won't take away so much from the front, like they're competing as much. So let's try that one. You could add another cookie. That is true. That's a good idea. You could certainly add another cookie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim this, and we're going to make it 2 inches. Okay, so I'm going to trim this to 2 inches. So we're going to put this on the inside. I want to make sure I trim it up a little bit. So I'm going to make this 5 1/4. That way it fits in there nicely. So we have our nice little piece that is in here. And then I'm going to put a piece of gold foil because I think it'll really make it look nice. So just bear with me one sec. I think my gold foil is right here in front of me. No, that's copper. Copper, silver, clear. You'd think by now I'd have all my foils together, but apparently not. Let's see. I think I have a piece in here. So we have some silver foil and paper. Oh goodness, don't tell me I might be out of silver foil. Wouldn't that be something? Talk about a faux pas there. Yeah, I have some copper. So I'm going to do a piece of copper just because I don't want to make you guys wait. Because I know I have gold foil here, but these spur of the moment things that I come up with, I don't want to make you have to struggle. So I'm only going to use a little thin strip, basically, just to back this, just like that. So it can be like a really, really tiny piece, just a little scrap piece that you have. So I'm going to cut a little thin piece, just like that. And I'm going to cut this down so it matches up again. So this will be 5 1/4. And then this one I could use for something else. So I'm going to just back this onto here. Just like that. And really with the lighting in here, you can't tell that it's not copper. We won't tell anybody. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some fast fuse onto the back of this. And I'm going to put it right at the edge. Oop, that's my new one. I didn't start yet. I'm going to put it right at the edge. Come on. There we go. And then I'm going to lay this right on top of it. Just like that. So just like that. So we have our little layer of fake gold, aka copper, laying there. And then we're going to lay this on the inside of the card. So that'll be really, really, really pretty, just like that. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back here. And I think I'm going to put this off to the left side because I kind of like it a little better. That way it'll show off that little copper strip. Again, you could put this one to the front. I have a little bit of fast fuse that's balling up. I'm just rubbing that off and bringing it down to the bottom of the card. That way it's not sticky. You could use liquid glue too if you wanted to, because that also does give you a little bit more positionability if you need to adjust this little line here. Okay, so another cookie really would be a good idea. But since I've already gone through this and I don't want to make you guys have to watch me do another one, I'm going to put this on with this. But that would be another great way. You could stamp 2 cookies together, and that would give you way more room to be able to pull, to create a pull with either a longer pull that was hidden more, or you could use one of the longer phrases. So that is a wonderful idea. Thank you so much for suggesting that. For some reason, I don't ever think of those kind of things. All right, so what we're going to do is you want to be careful when you do this because you don't want your pull to get stuck anywhere so now that your adhesive is out. So you can either stick it in kind of gently or you could pull it to the edge, either way. I'm going to put mine in and then very gently, I'm going to set this here and I make sure that it works. Oh, that's cute. So it definitely goes in and out. And I want to just give this a good press. Another fun thing that you could do that I didn't think about ahead of time, if you wanted a little bit more finishes, you could stamp some cookies on here as well. That'll be a really cool idea. So I'm going to give this a nice firm press, make sure everything's in there, and my slider is still working. So still interactive. Again, you could do more than one cookie. Another fun thing you could do is you can even add a little bit of the bamboo at the bottom here. We'll do that just to make it a little bit more fun. And I'm going to use a little bit of wild wasabi. We'll just add this on the bottom here, just kind of like to the bottom side for a little bit of visual interest. Let's see. Just a little bit, doesn't even need to be a lot. Another cool idea though would be you could stamp a whole bunch of different cookies all over the bottom of this as well, which would be really fun. So there's your little pull card with your hello friend. And again, that is really a super idea. I might actually have to try that. So I might have to make another card when we're finished and do like a double cookie and see how much farther I can get that to go in there. And then I still have my other leftover piece of really pretty paper that we made with the gold embossing powder on the cherry cobbler. And again, that was just using all these little sentiments from Artistically Asian. But little pull tab there. Really fun. You could use any of the other sentiments if you wanted to, if you made a little bit bigger of a cookie, or again if you used your takeout box, because there are a lot of spots on here where you could very easily slit something and put this in, or you could even slit it on the side. You could omit the heart and have it slide out from the inside. So that would be really fun as well. But these cards are really cute. And they're really fun to do with the pull tab. It's just a matter of finding an image that you have that's large enough to be able to do it. But I think this is a really fun card. And I think once I've made one, and it really wasn't that hard. I mean, it was a little time consuming because I never made it before, and trying to figure out exactly how to get the Hello Friend to come out was a little bit of calculating here at the last minute, which sometimes make me nervous. But I think it's really fun. So another cookie, Jackie, that'll be a super idea. So thanks so much for suggesting that. So thank you guys always for watching, and I will be back again next Wednesday, if not tomorrow. I'm not sure if I can swing one tomorrow or not because my son doesn't have school. But if I can do one tomorrow, I can. I will either meet you here or on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to me here, or if you don't have your notifications turned on, make sure you turn those on because it will actually tell you when I go live. As a matter of fact, the other day, Tammy, hers told me when she was going live, and then she ended up having a little glitch. So she will be back today at 2 o'clock if you missed it. And she'll be on making a really fun looking card with a faux, I guess it's like a faux metal effect. So I'm going to keep my copper out because I might be able to do that later because it looks really, really beautiful. So I really am looking forward to seeing that later as well. And so anyway, if you make sure that you are subscribed to me here on Facebook and on YouTube, when I go live, it'll let you know. So thank you guys, as always, for joining. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all the suggestions, especially thank you, Jackie, for that with the cookie. I might have to give that a shot once we're finished. And if you guys have any questions, you know you can always shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. I am very with emails, and I am very quick with responses with the Facebook Messenger. Usually Facebook Messenger sometimes doesn't send me an alert. So if you really have a question that you want to know the answer to, shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. Again, the March Hostess code is pasted to the top of this page, and I will repost this broadcast, and I will post some finished cards on the blog later with all the instructions and everything that I used. Thanks, guys, for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I hope you'll give this a try. Give something new a try, especially this really cool embossing technique. I mean, that was definitely, I thought this was a designer series paper when I saw the girl do the demonstration on this, and I thought, wow, that would be really cool DSP. And then I just saw her heat emboss it. So great way to make your own embossing paper. You know, red or cherry cobbler and the gold really go beautifully together. So try something new. You never know. It might end up being something cool. Thanks, guys, for watching. I hope you have an awesome day.